Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. It's Bike Month. Let's share bicycle breakthroughs. We're going to get started right away. Happy Bike Month, everyone. Okay, a little bit about us. We are the Safe Routes to School National Partnership. We're a nonprofit organization that works to advance safe walking and bicycling to and from school, to improve the health and well-being of kids of all races, income levels, and abilities, and to foster the creation of healthy communities for everyone. A little bit about what we do. We improve quality of life for kids, families, and communities. We do this through advancing policy change at the federal, state, regional, and local levels. We catalyze support for safe, healthy, active communities, and we share our deep expertise. Before we begin, let's go over some webinar housekeeping. To the left is the GoToWebinar viewer through which you'll see the presentation. To the right is the GoToWebinar control panel where you can raise your hand, ask questions, and select the audio mode you'll use. Please note, your control panel will collapse automatically when not in use. To keep it open, you can click the View menu and uncheck Auto Hide Control Panel. Two options for listening to us today. You can use your telephone or your computer microphone and speakers. If you have any sound problems with one of these, go ahead and try the other option. We'll do our best to field any issues, so just send us a message in the chat box. Even though you're muted, we want to hear your input. Use the question box to ask speakers questions from the Q&A portion of the webinar. We'll try to answer your questions if there's time at the end. After viewing today's presentation, you might want to view it again or send the link to some of your friends. If that's the case, you can do it for free by visiting our website. Go to saferoutespartnership.org, click on the Resource tab heading, and click on Webinars in the list on the left-hand side of the page. All past webinars are stored here for your viewing pleasure, and they're a great resource, so I really urge you to visit this page. Okay, and now for our speakers. We have an excellent group here with us today. We'll begin with Rhonda Bolick, Education and Encouragement Coordinator for the City of Austin, Texas. Next, we'll be seeing a presentation from Jennifer Bordon, Active Living Coordinator with Minneapolis Public Schools. And then the last speaker will be myself. Hello, my name is Hannah Williams. I'm the Safe Routes to School Manager for Safe Routes to School National Partnership. Okay, I'm going to introduce Rhonda now. Rhonda is the Education Coordinator for the City of Austin's Safe Routes to School program. She started working for the City of Austin as a crossing guard in February of 1992. She quickly moved up to the city's newly formed education program in October. Rhonda has a bachelor's degree in elementary education, which prepared her to create all of the safety lessons. Okay, over to you, Rhonda.
Thank you so much for letting me be a part of the webinar today. I am the Education and Encouragement Coordinator for the City of Austin. I work for the Public Works Department. Safe Routes is a part of that. We get our funding through the Child Safety Fund. Money goes in there from vehicle registration, school zone fines, and fines for passing school buses. Our education program started 26 years ago as part of our Crossing Guard program. In the beginning, I scheduled with classroom teachers, other staff members from the school. My very first lesson was done in a hallway at a school. But we've moved up since then. I eventually got into the classrooms so that I could do 30-minute presentations, 10 presentations in a day. I found out pretty quickly that when I sent the schedule to the teachers that I had to schedule in a lunch break, otherwise I didn't get one. But I had been doing presentations in the classroom for about 15 years. We do different lessons each year. I started out doing the same lesson at each school all year long, and the next year I would produce another lesson. because I found that if I wanted to go back to the schools every year, I needed to be doing something different. It's the same information that we share, but the information is presented in a different manner. And later on in the presentation, I'll give you some of the different lessons that we use. The very first year, I started with pre-K through second. The second year, I added third through fifth, sometimes sixth. Even now, some of our elementary schools have sixth grade. And I was able to present to 30 different schools a year. In 2007, I was doing presentations with one of our PE teachers at Cowan Elementary School, and the coordinator for the elementary school teachers in Austin saw the presentation and she really liked it. And so she asked me if I could present to all of the PE classes in Austin if she would help promote the program, and I said sure. So we had to have more people in place to be able to do that. So we started with just hiring 2 more people. Now we have 5 staff members that go out to 2 schools every day, and we do present the lesson in English as well as Spanish because we do have a lot of Spanish-speaking students in the city of Austin. We rotate through 5 different lessons right now with the younger students and 5 different lessons for the older students. Like I said, this is a part of our crossing guard program. So to help you guys understand the area that we service, we do have 7 different school districts that we service that have schools within the city limits of Austin. So in the outlying schools, we don't service all of their schools, but just the ones that are within the city limits. We have over 200 crossing guard locations in those school districts. And as part of our crossing guard program, right now we have 2 walking school bus leaders that get paid the same as a crossing guard. Last year, our stats were that we visited 100 schools. We trained over 48,000 students. We conducted 4 bike rodeos. We attended 25 community and school fairs, either on weekends or after school. We provided 2 daycare trainings and provided 2 adult education trainings. We want to have more adult education and daycare trainings, but I'm going to have to get more people on staff to be able to accommodate doing more of those. The services that we offer is, first of all, our main focus is the elementary school education. So we're in schools every day unless there's a holiday and the school's not in session. We also provide the daycare education. We go to the school fitness nights. At those, we give out information to the parents on pedestrian safety and bike safety. And we play a little review game with the students where they can go fishing. The fish has a paper clip on it. We use a pole with a magnet. It catches the fish. We ask them a question about safety, and they may have an opportunity to win prizes out of a treasure chest, pencils, stickers, tattoos. And to know what prize they get, it's on a little worm that's in a little flower pot. So we can have fun doing that. We also have our adult education that we do at parent coffees, PTA meetings, and at the community fairs. I also have a safety patrol training that we do at schools where I go in with a PowerPoint presentation of pictures that I took at a school in my neighborhood where my children went to school. It's a great school to use because it has most of the positions that the safety patrol would have to use. And so they get to see something that's pictures of locations here in Austin. And we talk about how to be a good safety patrol. And then I do offer certificates to them, brochures, and equipment. So we provide the vest that says safety patrol on it and stop flags. We also do bike rodeos where we do a course that they ride their bike. We offer to fit their helmets, give them replacement helmets if it's needed. We do license tags that they can make out of cardstock, and we laminate it. They decorate it, we laminate it, and then we hook it on with pipe cleaners to their bicycle. We also give prizes away, like a gift basket or water bottles if we have it, bike locks. We also have done a bike train at a school, and we would like to do more of them. At Hart Elementary School, we had an opportunity to start a bike train and a walking school bus there because the city went in and they put a walking bridge over a creek. And that gave us the opportunity to connect with all the students in several apartment complexes across the other side of the creek from the school. And when we started, we bought bicycles for the students, 300 bicycles. We had 100 kids take us up on it, 3rd through 5th grade. We trained them, make sure that they could follow the rules of the road, make sure that they could ride correctly, and then had 83 students that were on the bike train with us every morning and every afternoon for a few months. Unfortunately, the school buses were given back to those students, so we don't have the bike train anymore, but we still do have the walking school bus. So we do the walking school bus, we do walk to school day, bike to school day. We are doing Bike to School Day next week at Pond Springs Elementary School, which is one of our Round Rock schools. We also have Bow Wow, and this is a program that our retired manager had come up with. Stands for Bike on Wednesday, Walk on Wednesday. And so we go in and do the training with the students at 10 different schools that we've picked for that particular year. And we give them the opportunity to walk, ride their bike from their house to the school, or they can park a block away and walk. And if they do that in the mornings on those 4 Wednesdays, then they get to enter a raffle. In the beginning, we were giving away bicycles or coupons to go get, or gift certificates to go get a bicycle at academies, so it would fit them, and a helmet and a bike lock. Recently, we've switched to giving away gift baskets so that we can give more prizes away instead of just the 2 prizes. This is a great program, I think, but we're trying to get more buy-in from the school to continue what we've done, because at a lot of the schools will, for the time that we're doing the raffle, we have tons of participants, but when the raffle's over, the kids go back to coming to school in the car. And so that's what we're trying to get that changed. So we will have over the next few years another team in place that will try to get more active transportation, and so that we can cut down on the amount of traffic around the schools and get the kids to be more physically active. The lessons that I do with the students are, I have a blue flip chart, which is just a basic storybook that tells what a crossing guard sees on the way to their crosswalk. We have a flannel graph, which is in the picture, where we have movable parts, and they see parents and children that are in unsafe places, and then they try to show us where they're unsafe, and then we put them in safe places. We also have a rebus book, which is words and pictures, PowerPoint, which is pictures of things around the city of Austin to help them really see what we're trying to talk about, a safety treasure that has items in it like cars and bicycles, pictures of corners, a pretend crosswalk, and we talk about why those are safety treasures to us and how they can keep us safe. The older students, we play games, safety wars, bingo. We have a game board with movable pieces that walk down a sidewalk, and they move forwards if a scenario is unsafe, and backwards if it's forwards if it's safe, and backwards if it's unsafe. The Safety Jeopardy is the one in the picture that you see, and that's kind of like the Jeopardy game on TV. So they pick a category and they answer the question, and if they get it correct, then they get points for their team. And there are daily doubles on each of the different, we have 3 different sections to it that they can play. And then we have the PowerPoint for them as well. And then we also have our daycare lesson, which is a different rebus book, and then we use the flannel board as well. The things that we cover with them are crossing at corners, crosswalks, and traffic lights. If they're under the age of 10, we encourage them to be with adults. If they're 10 years or older, we say that they can be outside with a group of friends, but we never want them to be alone. And in Austin, it is we do enforced jaywalking. The tickets are anywhere from $50 to $500, and so we really talk about that because typically over the last few years we've had about 33 people hit and killed in Austin because they're jaywalking. And so we really want to try to change that. I don't say with the students, look left, right, left. From the beginning, I've shared look in all directions because they could have streets in front of them and streets behind, to the side of them that we need to look for cars on those streets as well. And then we always take a walk to the crosswalk. If it's bad weather, then we use a pretend crosswalk, a pretend car, and we let the children be the crossing guard as we practice. For our bike safety, we cover wearing a bike helmet. Here in the city of Austin, it's a law that you have to be 18 years of age or older to choose to go without a helmet. And so we really encourage the kids to follow that law and wear the helmet and do what they need to do to protect their brain, and encourage the adults to wear them as well. We have a law in Texas that says that you have to have a seat to sit on if you're riding a bicycle. So the trick bikes are not for more than one person. So we talk to the kids about using tandem bikes or trailer bikes if they want to have more people on a bike. Under the age of 10, we encourage them to stay on sidewalks, even in their quiet neighborhoods. 10 years of age or older, they can be in the streets or in the bike lanes if they're ready to obey the rules of the road, like obeying traffic signs, using hand signals, riding on the right side of the road. And then since we work with the PE teachers now, we have exercise opportunities throughout the whole lesson so that they're not just sitting there listening the whole time. And then one other thing that we started about 5 years ago, we take travel counts. So when we introduce ourselves in the morning, we find out how many of the kids already own helmets, and then we find out how they get to school. So we have little stand-up signs around the side of the gym that we have them walk to let us know if they ride a bike or walk, come to school in a car, use the school bus, city bus, park and walk, come on a scooter, skateboard, or they come with other people. And we're looking at this to see if we make a difference, if we've changed anything by encouraging active transportation. And at this point, unfortunately, we still have a lot of kids that come in a car. It hasn't really changed a lot. But we're going to keep working on that and try to get the kids to be more active. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda, for sharing your robust program with us. I'd now like to introduce Jennifer. Jennifer is the Active Living Coordinator and part of the Student Wellness Team in Minneapolis Public Schools. A former high school English teacher, Jennifer has helped lead safe routes to school efforts in Minneapolis Public Schools since 2011, during which time Minneapolis Public Schools has launched innovative bicycle and walk programs, resulting in dramatic increases in the number of students walking and biking to, from, and at school. Jennifer Bordon lives in Minneapolis with her husband and 2 daughters. Okay, Jennifer, handing this off to you. Your presentation looks great.
Oh, good. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me. I consider National Bike to School Day one of our big holidays, and so leading up to one of our big holidays, it's nice to take a pause and reflect on where we've been and a little bit of how we got there. So like she said, my name is Jennifer Bordon. I work for Minneapolis Public Schools in Safe Routes to School Active Living. I am part of the Culinary and Wellness Services Department. Most school districts would call that their nutrition center. And I am just going to talk about how we've really advanced biking in what I think is a short period of time, 5 or 6 years. So in Minnesota, we're really lucky to have 2 entities supporting Safe Routes to School. It's our health department through what I think is a really innovative program, the Statewide Health Improvement Partnership. It's an anti-obesity prevention effort, and that covers much of the state, and communities can choose to work on Safe Routes to School as one of their strategies. And we also have a great Safe Routes to School in our Department of Transportation, and both of those entities have provided funding and currently provide funding for my position in Minneapolis Public Schools. So like I said, we're going to tell the story of how we got from here to here. First, a little bit about Minneapolis Public Schools. We are about 37,000 students. We have, depending on how you count it, we have about 60 buildings. Our demographics, we have, I would say we're very balanced for a diverse school, or a diverse school district. About 2/3 of our kids are students of color. We have about 1/4 of our students are English language learners. About 2/3 qualify for free and reduced lunch. And 70% of our students receive transportation, meaning yellow school bus transportation, or our high schoolers actually take the city bus and so get a go-to pass, which is the pass that gets you the public transportation. We have a lot of barriers when it comes to biking, and I'm really just talking about our biking efforts today. Safe Routes to School, also we do other efforts and walking efforts, but I really wanted to focus because it is Bike Month and we're leading up to National Bike to School Day on our bike efforts. So some of our barriers is schools are not necessarily located near people's houses in Minneapolis Public Schools. I said 70% of our students receive transportation, and that's because we have a lot of school choice, and so families might choose and receive transportation to schools that are a lot farther from their home. Families will say they don't have time to walk and bike. I like to think of us as a really great place for walking and biking in Minneapolis, but we still have a car culture and lots of kids driving to school. We have same arrival dismissal that lots of folks have, where there's cars and it can feel really chaotic and unsafe. It can be expensive to ride a bike. You have to own a bike, you have to have a place to keep a bike, you have to have a way to maintain a bike, and an ability to replace it if it gets stolen, especially if you don't have a safe place to keep it or a good lock, which also costs money. And then we are a school district, so our primary focus is educating students. So sometimes getting schools to take on more, and that sometimes is perceived outside their school building, the routes to school, walking and biking, can be a challenge. But we have a lot of local assets. I talked just briefly, we have statewide assets with a strong health department and a strong Safe Routes to School in our Department of Transportation. We in Minneapolis also have had really existing beautiful trails from the beginning. Theodore Wirth designed the city to have beautiful trails to connect our lakes and our rivers, and we also have many, many parks. So the city was designed to have a park within a few blocks of every house, within a 10-minute walk of every house in the city. We also, in the early 2000s, we had a mayor, that's R.T. Ryback, who really was forward-thinking and wanted to have our city be walking and biking. And so he did things like hire a city pedestrian and bicycle coordinator. He had his city health department. He said, we want to have safe routes to school. And so really, the city health department worked with our school district to come up with our first plan. This was 2008, about how are we going to have more kids walking and biking, making it a safe and fun and convenient for all students. And what came out of that first planning effort, and still exists today and is really helpful for moving our work forward, is a Safe Routes to School work group, which is a interagency group. It's convened by us in Minneapolis Public Schools, and we have some internal folks like our emergency management folks, our transportation folks, our community ed folks, but also city entities come to that. So our Public Works Planning Department and our Public Works Transportation or traffic, like dealing with the day-to-day issues on the street, come, as well as local public health and sometimes other entities like the police and parks. Safe Routes to School, from that plan, even predating that plan, has always been located in our school district. So I am a Minneapolis Public Schools employee, and so that's why I put that up there. I have an MPS, that's what we call our school district, email. And so with that, it helps us get schools and principals to take on efforts, and we also hold in our heads the primary goal of our school district, which is to educate students. And we know that walking and biking will promote academic achievement and other skills that can be really helpful in a classroom. And we also have some great bicycle advocacy organizations. So I put up a few of those. So it's really fertile ground for these efforts, and there's multiple partners, and I haven't even mentioned them all here. So back in 2012, we saw elsewhere in the state, that same SHIP effort, some people having success with school-owned bicycle fleets. At the same time, there were a few shining stars in the district that had created their own bicycle fleets and used them to bike around with students. And we said, let's try that. Maybe there's interest. So we asked our schools, would you be interested in about a dozen bikes to use in your schools? And there was a resounding yes. And so we got bicycle fleets into about a half a dozen schools and helped another half a dozen purchase them on their own. And those initial efforts were primarily used for community ed, after school type programming, where the kids are self-selecting in, and there's a lot more flexibility in what they can do because it's an after school program. During that same period, like I said, we were getting bike fleets into schools. There were a few shining stars, so we found them and really promoted them. So there was one school that had their own bike fleet. We held a workshop that you see up there. How do you get your own bike fleet? And we made it an MPS workshop. So really doing the next thing, branding and normalizing, like, this is what we do in Minneapolis Public Schools. We bike, and it is a normal and not scary thing to do. And so that was another thing that we took on quickly was liability. We met with our general counsel and found out, like, here's what we think needs to be done, what needs to be done in terms of permission slips or liability. And we really worked out a system that we understood and we could share with schools. So when a principal who might be fearful would say, no, we can't bike, we can't go out and bike during the school day, we could say, well, the emergency management people are part of our Safe Routes to School team, as I mentioned, and we came up with a system that works and is supported by our leadership in Minneapolis Public Schools. And then storage was actually a real issue. Schools wanted bikes, but where do we keep them? And so we helped and have resources for schools to work that out. At the same time that we're getting fleets into the school, our state is developing a walk, bike, fun curriculum. So it's a pedestrian safety for K2 and bike safety for grades 4 and up. And so that is taking place at the same time, which they went with a train the trainer model. And so the idea is classroom teachers or community ed teachers get trained in delivering the curriculum, and then they go and deliver the curriculum to their students. And that has been great for us to build capacity with who can do these efforts. The Safe Routes to School is housed with our Department of Transportation, and they provide free trainings and subpay for teachers to go to. And the curriculum really is about teaching kids how to ride independently in the streets safely where they want to go. And that also really helped us to legitimize bicycling for folks that maybe are not bikers themselves or not familiar with it, saying, we can't bike in the street. And we can say, yes, we can bike in the street. We've gone through these things with our school district, and the state has a curriculum that says, yes, you can see the picture up above. Yes, we do want students to bike in the streets, and there can be cars, but biking in the street is a safer place for our students, and we're going to teach them how to do it safely. So with all kind of those things happening and the success, we decided we were ready to get a district bike fleet, which we did in 2013, a grant funded through that MnDOT, Department of Transportation Safe Routes to School, and we bought 43 bikes and an adaptive bike that could travel from school to school. So that barrier of storage would be relieved. The barrier of maintaining bikes would be relieved because the bikes would show up 2 weeks at a time, and teachers could use them with their students, take them through the lessons of Walk Bike Fun, and then it would move on to another school. We also worked out bicycle maintenance. We have a program in Minneapolis public schools for 18 to 21-year-olds who aren't quite ready to graduate, who want some more high school. And it has a job, it's transition plus high school, and it has a job focus mission with the school. And so there were folks there that said, yes, we want a bike class. And so through that bike class in the winter, all the bikes are cleaned, they're fixed, they're tuned up, and then great partners. We are lucky to have quality bike products, an enormous and generous bike company in Minnesota, and they also supply parts for us and help to fix the bicycles. I'll note too, that picture is the T+ kids. After they fix the bikes, before they go out, they take a bike ride themselves. And this is one of our beautiful lakes. It's Bode-Makaska. It's about 2 or 3 miles from their school. And when they bike to the school for the first time, I would say maybe 2 of those kids had been there before. And it's one of those beautiful assets, and we really have a mission of, we have this beautiful city. We want all our students to feel like they own it. So that first year, I'll say, like, to get teachers, it's a daunting undertaking to think, I'm going to have 25 or 30 students, I'm going to bike with them. So it took, I would say we got the low-hanging fruit, the teachers that say yes to everything, and a lot of encouragement to get teachers to go to the training, and then after they go to the training, agree, yes, I want the bike fleet to show up at my school. We provide that year one a lot of hands-on support when they're at the school, and also ways that they can get additional hands-on support. So the first year we were full, but we could have taken a few more. With 6 schools, though, we were really happy, and about 750 kids or so. During the same time, we're always promoting this branding and normalizing. We're promoting walking and biking. So for the big walk and bike to school days in the fall, we added winter and spring. And so we started with our participation with about 2,000 students, and we've grown to almost 10,000. And so that it all, I think, feeds into each other. Even if you don't have the bike fleet at your school, even if you're a teacher that's not doing the bike fleet, to have a kind of a continuous promotion of walking and biking in Minneapolis public schools. Last year, these are the schools that use the bike fleet, and so we grew from those 6 schools to a lot more schools. I think it was about 1,500 students that used them. And I'll just point out, those SOC is students of color, and FRL would be students that qualify for free and reduced lunch. And just if you keep that two-thirds number in your head, we really reached schools that had the highest numbers of students of color and the highest numbers of free and reduced lunch. And the way that we do that is we really recruit and target those schools with my efforts to say, you want to try this, here's the training, this is what you would do, this is what it would look like. But we always extend the invitation to all the schools and would welcome any school that says, I want to do this. And that kind of two-pronged approach, that wide invitation, broad to everyone, and then using the resources for individual recruitment and invitation has worked really well for us. So we've started to get teachers trained. And then we thought, we want to be able to train our own folks, and to be able to train your own folks, you need to be a league cycling instructor. It's a certification from the American League of Bicyclists. It's a pretty intense training. It takes, the training itself has many prerequisites, and then itself is a 3-day training, and we now have more than 10 LCIs in our league cycling instructors of MPS teachers. So now we are able to put on the trainings ourselves, as well as the state level trainings. And we learned that a group bicycle ride can be really powerful. The Winter Cycling Congress came to Minneapolis a couple years ago, and we heard story after story of folks doing, starting biking again because they were invited to a group ride. And so we decided that was something we needed to incorporate with us too. So we expect next Wednesday to have about 200 riders show up, and it's students, staff, parents, after school, and do a really beautiful loop of our city. So I've been in multiple departments being grant funded. You kind of bounce around, but we have found our home really now in culinary and wellness services. So with the food, the people that want our kids to be physically active also want them to eat well, and so it's a perfect match to our efforts, and it just makes them stronger. Through this too, we have gotten Safe Routes to School into our wellness policy. And so our wellness policy states that we will support Safe Routes to School and promote biking, walking to, from, and you'll see well at school. And so now we have policy support for that as well. We updated our strategic plan last year to capture some of the work that we've been doing and to look at where we want to go. And what came out of that was a goal for universal bike education for all 4th and 5th graders. Also encouraging walk and bike to school field trips. So after you already know how to bike safely on the street, it can open up a whole world of destinations that become low cost and free. Since doing our plan, we got grant funding, again, from SHIP to purchase a second bike fleet. We have great partners. That picture that you see is our partners in grounds who deliver the trailer from place to place. They really take an ownership as well. They're very proud to see all the students out there biking, which you do pretty much now every day in the spring and the fall, and as well as help us outfit just a standard trailer to hang bicycles. And we've already done our trainings. These are our March trainings, day and night in terms of getting teachers to come. My goal was to have the second bike fleet schedule full by the fall. We just purchased it this winter and we are already full. So it's out there. It's been out there and moving, and it has a full schedule for the spring. And we also are writing a walk and bike to field trip, a walk and bike to school, or a walk and bike field trip guide came out of our planning, and now the means to make it happen is it's happening. And that gets us to the end, a quick story of how we got to very few students biking to pretty much every day during the school day. If you are out biking in Minneapolis, you will probably come across a classroom or even more when you're out there on the trails.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's really great to see so much support for Safe Routes to School and bicycling in your schools and your school districts. And I love that your teachers are becoming bicycling instructors. I'll be talking a little bit about school support for bike trains in a bit. Okay, so hi everyone, I am Hannah Williams, our program and policy. I work on our program and policy team for the Safe Routes to School National Partnership. I assist with technical assistance and producing our Safe Routes to School resources. These resources come out each month in the EU, so if you haven't subscribed, make sure to do so. They're really great. Okay, the wheels on the bike go round and round. How to start a bike train. What is a bike train? Bike train is a safe and fun way for kids to get physical activity as they travel to and from school with adult supervision. Bike trains improve health by increasing physical activity and creating lifelong healthy habits and decreasing the risk of chronic disease and obesity. They help students arrive at school ready to learn, awake and alert with a better focus and concentration, which can improve academic performance. Bike trains can help solve transportation issues, such as reduced school bus service and dangerous traffic congestion at pickup or drop-off times, and student absences and tardiness due to transportation challenges. Bike trains can help create a cleaner environment by reducing air pollution from car emissions. Bike trains can educate pre-drivers on traffic safety and vehicular protocol, helping them to understand their job as a road user and preparing them for larger road responsibilities and vehicle drivers. It increases traffic safety skills and confidence for students through opportunities to learn about road safety and a safety environment to practice and improve abilities. Okay, so today we're going to go through our Bike Train Toolkit. This resource was funded by the California Department of Public Health. The toolkit is organized into 5 steps, and as you read through the toolkit on your own, you'll see resources referenced and linked throughout the guide. Anytime we suggest you do something in the toolkit, we offer an example. The toolkit also has additional resources with links to bicycle education, bike train videos, and stories. Okay, that's done. Things to think about when you're going to get started. Here are some ideas for support. Bike trains are often led by volunteers, families, or school staff. It'll help you be successful if your team includes or has easy access to school decision makers who can generate support from the school community and create awareness and connections for your bike train program. The school principal can be a valuable advocate with district administration. Principals can encourage key staff or school parent-teacher associations or parent-teacher organizations to assist with safe routes to school and can encourage students and families to participate. A supportive principal can build enthusiasm for the program, provide leverage, and open doors for program implementation. You'll want to make sure you have a bike train coordinator. This is the person who will lead the organizing and implementation of your bike train program. This person is often a parent or a family member that can be another type of volunteer, a staff member, or a paid Safe Routes to School person. Although an unsupportive district or principal may not be able to prevent you from organizing families to bike to school together, it will be much more challenging to organize and promote a bike train without the support of school administration. So, if this is the case, work to convince your administration on the magic behind bike trains. Ways you can do this? Share resources and information about the benefits of bike trains for students, the school, and the community. Work with influential people in your community. Include parents and others to educate decision makers about bike trains and to solicit their support for your program. Address problematic policies. Some schools have anti-biking policies which may be cited as a reason biking is discouraged. We recommend looking at Change Lab Solutions fact sheet, backing off bike bans. This can assist you with starting the dialogue to change these policies. This resource is included in the toolkit. Here's an example of a resource available in step 1 of the toolkit, the Bike Train Planning Worksheet. As a team, you'll have some initial questions to answer, and the planning worksheet can really help. You'll need to determine what kind of bike train you envision, whether you want a more formal or informal program, how frequent the bike trains will be, how much effort your team can put into them as you start your program. Will you start with a pilot program for a week or a month, or commit to a year-long program? Will you begin with just one bike train or start several at the same time? Answering the bike training planning worksheet will help put your program into perspective. Step 2, get ready. Begin a few months before your start date. It's important to identify and recruit interested students as well as willing volunteers as soon as possible to help ensure success of your program. Student and volunteer recruitment is kind of like which came first, the chicken or the egg. It can be good to start with student recruitment. This can create a compelling case for volunteer recruitment. Strong student turnout can help convince more adult leaders to sign up, particularly parents and other family members. However, if you anticipate a limited pool of volunteers, it may be more practical to start with leader recruitment, basing the number of routes and student spots you offer on the number of adults available. The Bike Train Student Recruitment Checklist will help you identify steps to reach students and their families with the bike train opportunity. Get them signed up and share important information. One way to find students is through observation and chatting with families and teachers. Another idea is to work with your principal or counselor to discuss how the bike train program can support students who may have attendance or tardiness problems. Reach students and their families through school communication methods, such as morning announcements, flyers, emails, robocalls from principals, and in-class presentations. Consider using social media channels too. Visit a PTO or a PTA meeting and ask to have information included on their website or newsletter. Remember, you can also promote the need for bike train leaders at the same time. When recruiting students and leaders, be inclusive. Consider the needs of students with different kinds of abilities and how best they can be accommodated in your bike train program. You'll want to make sure students have the skills, equipment, and knowledge to participate safely in your bike train. We recommend conducting some type of training and assessment, such as a brief bicycling skills test, an equipment check, and a traffic safety talk. Find more details on bicycle education resources in the toolkit. Bike train leaders are the adults or sometimes high school students that volunteer to lead bike trains. The Bike Train Leader Recruitment Checklist will help you identify steps to reach your bike train leader recruitment goals. Many bike train programs are organized so that at least 2 adults are always with a group of kids, one that leads the train and one that rides sweep at the end. This ensures that students follow the correct route, obey traffic laws, and don't fall behind. The sweep also watches for performance, traffic, equipment, or clothing issues that may require students to stop cycling. Because leaders will periodically drop out of the program and perhaps maybe be sick, it's a really good idea to have a reserve list of adult volunteers. Bike train leaders must have some bicycling skills, understand traffic laws, feel comfortable riding on the road, and be authoritative but have patience with kids, all at the same time. They must have access to working bicycles and required safety equipment such as helmets. It's really helpful when bike train leaders have basic bike mechanic knowledge too. A training checklist is included in the resources section to help you remember the basics of what each leader should know to feel comfortable in their role. You can also reference the training agenda that's in the toolkit to help you plan your training. Liability issues can be complicated and sometimes can scare people away from volunteering. The good news is that the risk of liability for volunteers is small. Federal law provides considerable protection for volunteers in almost every state. Although there is some risk of liability in everything we do, if you anticipate potential dangers and hazards in your bike train program and put reasonable precautions in place to avoid them, you'll minimize your risk. Your school administration or risk management department may have recommendations as well. We recommend Change Lab Solutions resources on minimizing your liability risk and volunteers and liability. Both of these are included in the toolkit. Step 3. When you're planning your route, things you'll want to think about include: where do students live? You may need to make a guess about where students live based on information from the principal, teachers, or families. Decide how long your ride should be. Look at your age group and common weather conditions in the morning and afternoon around your school. How far do you anticipate students will be willing to ride? Bicycling is faster than walking, but consider the age and endurance of your students. For example, can a first grader maintain a speed of a fifth grader? Have you allowed enough travel time for all riders to make it to the school on time? Just some things to think about. Make sure you test ride potential routes. Riding the route you have identified during school commute hours is really important. You want to make sure that traffic is not too heavy, ensure that the ride seems manageable for children, and see how long it takes to do things like cross busier streets and navigate lights. Bringing a few kids along during your test ride is a really good idea. So perhaps if you're a parent leading a bike train, you can bring your kids. Step 4. Any day is a good day to start, but it can be great to attach your bicycle train kickoff to a national event, such as Walk to School Day in October or Bike to School Day in May. Promote the day in your program using school communication methods, such as the district website, flyers, emails, Facebook. The toolkit has a Bike to School Day flyer, bike train press release, and language for Facebook and Twitter posts. Promote and grow your program by distributing registration forms and bike train leader interest forms to interested families during the kickoff. The last step, step 5. Review leader comment forms. Look at surveys from students and families. Remember to take all of this and summarize your evaluations. It's also very important to celebrate and share your successes. Let the principal, superintendent, city council, media, and others know about the contributions that your program is making. Adjust your program as needed to make it safer, accessible, and of course, more fun. Start with safety concerns that seem fairly feasible and put these into action. Finally, set the bike train schedule for next year and get started with your planning. You can find the bike train toolkit using this link. My contact information is provided for any follow-up questions you may have. Wishing everyone a very, very happy Bike Month. Okay, and now I'd like to begin the Q&A portion of the webinar. Just a reminder, even though you're muted, we want to hear your input. So use the question box to ask speakers questions. You can go ahead and do that right now. Okay, we have a couple questions that are coming in about handouts and the PowerPoint slide deck. We will be sending an email after the webinar with links to the recording and the PowerPoint. Okay, we have a question here for who pays for the walking school bus or bike train leaders and how many leaders or students? Rhonda or Jennifer, do you want to share with who pays for your leaders?
We, here in the city of Austin, we have 2 paid bike train leaders that are paid as crossing guards through our Child Safety Fund. We have some that we've helped them set it up at a few schools where they have volunteers of parents that are already walking with the kids so they don't get paid for it.
Okay.
In Minneapolis, the efforts I talked about are school day efforts, and it's trained teachers, so it's really part of their regular school day. So it's not there's not an additional cost to that program.
And as far as how many leaders for how many students, does it have to do with how many students there are?
For the city of Austin, we've had, at Hart Elementary, we've had like 30 kids with 1 leader before. I guess at one point we might have had another one assist them. So if it's a really large group, we would probably try to have 2 people. The one that's at our other school, he probably only has about 10 kids that he's with, and if he had a lot more, we would probably try to find somebody to assist.
And probably going to have to look at on a case-by-case basis, looking at the needs and the ages and the abilities of the kids and what you have available.
Yes.
I was going to just add for school bike efforts during the school day, part of working with General Counsel was really consider these the same considerations you would take for a field trip. And so we use our same field trip ratios, recommended ratios for biking. And I think for 4th and 5th graders, it might be a 5-to-1 ratio, and 6th to 8th, maybe an 8 to 10-to-1 ratio.
I like that. I like Jennifer how everything is tied into the school policies. That's really great. We have a question here about bike rodeo planning material. Were these created or were they found somewhere, and is it possible to share them?
Is that through Jennifer or through me, through Rhonda? Because we just have We did have the bike people in Austin had put something together that we used to figure out how to lay out the course, and we took a training session with them, and then we've added some things ourselves to it. So it's a bike group in Austin that put it together.
Okay.
For us, I would say that the Walk Bike Fun curriculum really isn't rodeo based. It's really skills to bike in the streets. But the same, you can Google Walk Bike Fun. You know, it's a MnDOT Safe Routes to School. They have a Walk Bike Ambassadors guide, and in that guide, there's a whole bunch of things that volunteers might put on, including a bike rodeo. And I think those resources are really great.
Wonderful. Thank you. Rhonda, I have a question here for you. It says, are you working on getting safer infrastructure around the schools to encourage more kids to walk or bike?
Yes, we are. We just have a $2 million bond package that was passed about a year ago, and we're looking at 10 different districts to divide the money up evenly, and we've already started a few months ago doing the walk audits at the schools and getting information and input from the parents as to what they feel like they need around the schools. So we will be putting in more infrastructure around the schools for safer walking and biking over the next 5 years.
Great. Jennifer, I have a question here. A question about the bicycle fleets. Are helmets provided with the bicycle fleets? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. Helmets are provided, and a lot more helmets than there are bikes because there's just different sizes of heads, I guess. And we get them, you know, I'll buy as large, at the top range, I'll buy as large of helmets as we have that are available. But yes, so for a bike fleet of 40 bikes, there might be 60 helmets.
Great, thank you. I have some questions here for either speaker about permission slips and other liability documents, being able to share those.
I can answer that at least at first. So again, working with our general counsel and with the bike permission slips and how to use that, it really was, the guidance is to use our same field trip procedure. And so we use our field trip slips, and then in the space where you can write extra details, we just clearly write on bicycle, indicate who, you know, is it bicycles provided by the school? Is it the district bike fleet? And that within like the school functioning schools activities, it is our basic permission slip. And we use those for both on-campus biking and off-campus biking. And the reason is when the bike fleet shows up, it's only going to be there for about 2 weeks. And you, as a classroom teacher, you really don't know where you want to go with your students before you see them on the bicycles. And so some classrooms you might decide that you're only going to stay on campus, but you might get through the lessons like the on-campus controlled pretty quickly and see that, yes, we can bike to the falls, or we can bike, take a neighborhood ride. And so that's why we require the field trip slip, both on, just as on campus and to destinations. It might say destinations, I think, that are bikeable from the school is what the wording actually is, because you can't decide that you want to bike to a destination and get the field trip slips back really quickly. So this way you can get your field trip slips back, weeks before the bikes ever show up, but you don't have to have promised your students a neighborhood ride if you don't feel like that they're ready for that. And all our resources are public. So if you go to, you can find your way to our website at Safe Routes to School, and the MPS Teacher Resources actually we have our field trip slips up there, because that's where that's easy access for our teachers as well.
Great. And thank you so much, Jennifer. We are at time. Just wanted to remind everyone that this webinar will be recorded. We'll also be sending you a quick survey, and we'd love to hear your feedback. And look for the registration link in our follow-up email. Our next webinar on engaging students with disabilities and safe routes to school is coming up in June. Thank you so much. Happy Bike Month.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.